Hello, Internet friends. Last time we looked at the Nuremberg Code, a seminal document in the history of medical ethics. And today we're looking at another such document, which is called the Declaration of Geneva. So if you remember, the Nuremberg Code came out of the Nuremberg trials, and specifically the doctor's trial, which was one of these trials. And it was an attempt to uh, pin down what exactly was bad about the medical experiments that the Nazis had undertaken during World War II. So, in other words, what exactly was unethical about them? So, we're trying to, differentiate ethical experimentation on human beings from unethical experimentation on human beings. So, again, the Nuremberg Code is not a binding document. It's not a treaty or a law. It's simply a statement of points that the judges in that case felt were salient in making that distinction. Now, the Nuremberg Code was written in 1947, and it followed with the Declaration of Geneva in 1948. The Declaration of Geneva was a declaration which was written by the World Medical Association, and it's an attempt, as they said, to modernize the Hippocratic Oath, which I'm sure most people are somewhat familiar with, at least conceptually. Um, so the Nuremberg Code was the legal, quasi-legal aspect of medical ethics here, and particularly as they relate to experimentation. And then the Declaration of Geneva was an attempt by the medical community to police themselves, as it were, to create a pledge which physicians would swear to and adhere to throughout their careers. And it doesn't have to do with experimentation so much. That's going to be under the Declaration of Helsinki, which we'll get into next. But so the World Medical Association was founded in 1947, so it was very much another one of the results of the Nuremberg trials, as well as the Tokyo trials, which I'm not sure if those had taken place yet, but those were concerning Unit 731 on the other side of the Eurasian continent, and the stunning revelations that came out of those two trials led to a real reckoning by the scientific community as they realized what their members had committed during the Second World War. And so it's, of course, preceded by the American Medical Association, which was founded in the 1850s, I believe. And the largest proponent or contributor to it was I can't remember what they're called, but the British Medical Association. Sorry, I don't know their specific name, but they are the guys that, with the Royal Society and things like that, they are the ones that came up with the blueprints for most of these professional associations. So we're going to take our lead from them. And so we've got two documents to look at today: the Declaration of Geneva, which was written right after the World Medical Association was founded in 1947. It was written at the second, I believe, second General Assembly of the World Medical Association there in Geneva, and it's been amended several times since then. So we're going to be looking at the most recent version. And then right after that, in 1949, at the Third General Assembly in London, they came up with a document called the International Code of Medical Ethics. So the Declaration of Geneva, you'll see when I read it, but it's it's something that physicians are meant to pledge individually, and then the International Code of Medical Ethics is, as the name indicates, moving towards a universal code of medical ethics in terms of what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. And they are pretty short, so that's why I don't feel too bad about yammering on and on about them. I think it's really important to go back to the source with these documents and just see what what's considered acceptable by the medical community these days, and what the history of those decisions are. So straight from the horse's mouth, we have WMA.net, the World Medical Association's website, and this is their Declaration of Geneva, adopted by the Second General Assembly of the World Medical Association, Geneva, Switzerland, September 1948, and amended, so on and so forth, by these subsequent assemblies. A physician will pledge that, as a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity. The health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not permit considerations of age, disease, or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. So this is some of the stuff that was added in later, more politically correct assemblies. Anyway, I will respect the secrets that are confided in me even after the patient has died. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity and in accordance with good medical practice. I will foster the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession. I will give to my teachers, colleagues, and students the respect and gratitude that is their due. I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and the advancement of healthcare. I will tend to my own health, well-being, and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. So, just a note, this is just if you are a member of the World Medical Association. Okay, I don't think all physicians. It's meant to be a universal thing, but if you're a member of the American Medical Association, you're not going to swear this particular pledge. If you're an osteopath, you're not going to swear this, or a chiropractor, or a naturopath. They're under different pledges, basically. And so, second document, we have the World Medical Association International Code of Medical Ethics, adopted by the Third General Assembly of the World Medical Association in London, England, October 1949, and subsequently amended just 3 times. Duties of physicians in general, so it has 3 sections. Duties of physicians in general, duties of physicians to patients, and then duties of physicians to colleagues. And each of these little phrases begins with the clause, a physician shall. So I'm not going to say that each time. A physician shall always exercise his or her independent professional judgment and maintain the highest standards of professional conduct. Respect a competent patient's right to accept or refuse treatment. Not allow his or her judgment to be influenced by personal profit or unfair discrimination. Be dedicated to providing competent medical service in full professional and moral independence with compassion and respect for human dignity. Deal honestly with patients and colleagues and report to the appropriate authorities those physicians who practice unethically or incompetently or who engage in fraud or deception. A physician shall not receive any financial benefits or other incentives solely for referring patients or prescribing specific products. Respect the rights and preferences of patients, colleagues, and other health professionals. Recognize his or her important role in educating the public, but should use due caution in divulging discoveries or new techniques or treatment through non-professional channels. A physician shall certify only that which he or she has personally verified. A physician shall strive to use healthcare resources in the best way to benefit patients and their community. seek appropriate care and attention if he or she suffers from mental or physical illness. And finally, a physician shall respect the local and national codes of ethics. Duties of physicians to patients. A physician shall always bear in mind the obligation to respect human life, act in the patient's best interest when providing medical care, owe his or her patients complete loyalty and all the scientific resources available to him or her. Whenever an examination or treatment is beyond the physician's capacity, he or she should consult with or refer to another physician who has the necessary ability. Respect a patient's right to confidentiality. It is ethical to disclose confidential information when the patient consents to it or when there is a real and imminent threat or harm to the patient or to others, and this threat can be only removed by a breach of confidentiality. Give emergency care as a humanitarian duty unless he or she is assured that others are willing and able to give such care. That's a big one. In situations when he or she is acting for a third party, ensure that the patient has full knowledge of that situation. A physician shall not enter into a sexual relationship with his or her current patient or into any other abusive or exploitative relationship. So that is actually the only one that says a physician shall not do something. Oh, except for this one here. Never mind. Duties of physicians to colleagues. A physician shall behave toward colleagues as he or she would have them behave towards him or her, the golden rule. A physician shall not undermine the patient-physician relationship of colleagues in order to attract patients. So no spreading rumors about another doctor in order to steal their patients away, for example. And finally, a physician shall, when medically necessary, communicate with colleagues who are involved in the care of the same patient. This communication should respect patient confidentiality and be confined to necessary information. So that is similar to this one up here with respect to the patient's right to confidentiality, except for certain situations. Okay, so there you have it, the Declaration of Geneva by the World Medical Association, coming on the heels of the Nuremberg Code and more towards a universal attempt for a code of ethics that all physicians ought to follow. This has been Evan Benton of Dogg for Mayor. Thank you and have a good night.